you, Hannah. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me clearly? All right. Good evening, everyone. First things first, let me start sharing my screen. Hmm, Okay. Let me know if you were able to see my screen now. All right, there you go. So, good evening, everyone. Once again, maayong gabi sa tanan. I'm actually like a proud Bisaya also. And just a disclaimer, I think if there might be some words that I will mispronounce or pronounce it in a slang way, pardon me because I just had my oral surgery last Thursday. But I'll try my best to deliver this session with you in a more clear manner. Okay? All right. So, new wows for remote agile project teams. I know that most of you here are currently students and you might be thinking like, okay, why this topic matters to me, or like, why does I need to know the remote setup for agile project teams, or what is agile project, by the way, what is an agile project team? So I think those are some of your questions. And may I know, like, in what year are you already in college? Like, could you just type in your year? Like, are you in second year, third year, fourth year, or graduating students? Can I see some responses in the chat? Oh, second year. First year. All right, first. Long way to go, Charisse. All right, fourth year. So we have some graduating students here. This might be more relevant to those people that will be entering the workforce in the near future. Anyone who's professional joining the call today? So, oh, graduated student. All right, got it. Okay. All right. Now, let me share with you the new ways of working. So WOW stands for New Ways of Working for Remote Agile Project Teams. So just a little bit background about myself. Like I graduated with a degree in information technology in MSU IIT. So if you guys are from Cagayan de Oro, we're just like 1 hour or 2 hour away from you guys. So I graduated from MSU IIT. Actually, CJ, Sabihon here, we call each other Do, is actually a classmate of mine. So hi CJ, thanks for inviting me here today. Then I worked like prior to my graduation, like I was accepted in Microsoft Philippines to study business development and sales. And then I started my career in IT project management. That's why I'm talking to you more on an agile project way of things. So I really see myself enjoying project management. Like I advocate people to pursue a career in project management, especially IT project management. Like it's quite fun. It's quite easy to learn and it's something very essential for your career. Like if you're a project manager in IT, like I think like you're going to accelerate your career times three more than like taking like the normal route in the IT ladder. Next is, yeah, I'm doing my own startup right now. It's an entrepreneur learning school. So you can check it out. Like if I could promote just like our page, okay? So just it's short for SAGE or School of Agility, Grit, and Entrepreneurship. I also used to serve different various roles in the different startup scene. Like I serve as a Chief Operating Officer in Senti AI, if you're familiar with this AI startup who is currently booming right now. All right. So that's about me for today. I will be able to provide information and applications for you. I will be able to illustrate the knowledge and even inspire you in a sense and trigger some interest here in the room. Okay. Now, what's the reality? Like the reality right now, we are still in a pandemic, right? Like who among you here can say to me like, you know what, I'm not in a pandemic, or like everyone, whether you're rich or you're poor, like we are all affected by this pandemic. remote working is majority new to everyone, even like distance learning or even like remote learning. Like I think like most of the schools, like all of the schools, I moved actually for remote learning, and some of our public schools are doing like modules. Like there's a lot of trending jokes about nagmo-module ka na lang. Our setup is not designed for remote collaboration. The reality is when the pandemic hit, like most of the businesses were shattered, like most of the businesses were trying to cope up because the setup is not designed for remote collaboration. But here's some good news. Like in a span of 9 months, statistics show an increase of 47% in productivity for remote work setup. Like if you're a freelancer, I think you're already familiar on how remote work setup look like. But if you've been working into the industry, or if you're a student and you're like very used to with face to face, like doing the remote setup is quite new to you. But did you know like 47% in productivity is increased during the pandemic? Like still many people are having a hard time adapting to remote work, right? Like even here in the Philippines where internet is so good, like right, like we have a very very good internet. Like it makes our remote work more difficult. Like sometimes like I had this call then with a client in Malaysia, then I just get disconnected for 5 minutes because of I lost my internet that time, and now when I came back into Zoom, like I lost my client already. So like our internet here is very very friendly for us. So like many people are still having a hard time adapting to remote work. Now, before I'm going to dive in into the ways of working, I'm going to talk to you what is agile in the first place. And I am very passionate about this because when you're going to work right now in the IT industry, like you need to be agile as you can be. Like you need to understand how agile works and how can you be agile in the first place. So agile refers to a group of project management. When we say project management, it's how you manage your project. Or like who among you here are doing IT projects in your school or doing some projects when you were in high school? The way you manage that project is project management. Okay, so it's a group of project management methodologies. It's a school, it's different thoughts on how are you going to manage a project, and software development methodologies. But it is based on what? Iterative development. So it means that it keeps on iterating. The philosophy boils to the iteration of the development or the actions you're taking in executing your project. Now, it started last 2001, where a group of tech executives in Utah brainstormed how to approach software development better. So if you want to check like what this output that they've made during that time, you could research Agile Manifesto. Now, everyone is talking about Agile, and if you're wondering why Agile is rising to priority now, because like we are in the age of digital disruption, not just transformation. Like businesses right now are being disrupted. Like Uber is disrupting it, Airbnb is disrupting how we view hotels and staycations. Like Food Panda is disrupting things out. So like we are living in the age of digital disruption where change is normal. And agile is the mindset and the way to adopt and even embrace change as it should be. And if you're going to stuck in the traditional way of project management, the way you develop your software, or even like you're desiring to build an application someday, you should be thinking it in an agile way. As much as I want to talk about agile, is I'm going to introduce to you the different agile methodologies that you will be encountering in the workforce someday, or perhaps you're currently encountering today. So you will have an idea. So one day when you're going to like embrace it, especially in this remote setup right now, you will be in an advantage and you are adapting well and will be more effective as a worker. Now, um, so here are the common agile working models that you will be encountering in the industry. Number one is Scrum. Like this is like the basic, not the basic, like this is the most common. And like even me personally, I love doing Scrum in my agile projects. So Scrum is like one of the agile methodologies very famous out there that you could actually learn. Like the Scrum Master, there's a Scrum Master that you could look up to. Like if there's a project manager, the one managing the project in Scrum, like there's a Scrum Master making sure that the Scrum team is executing. So most of the IT organizations right now are doing Scrum. And perhaps you could apply this also when you're going to do your thesis or your application development. So if you want to hear more about Scrum, I will be happy to talk more about it, but in a different setup or session. Next is Kanban. So this is also another common agile working models out there, guys, that you could check, but you could imagine it just like a Trello board. Who among you here use Trello? So it spells like this. Who among you here use Trello? Okay. Trello is built on Kanban. Okay, so like you have a board to do, in progress, and done. So that's it. Next is enterprise scaling framework. So this is like an agile for enterprises. I used to work with a project in one of the biggest telco here in the Philippines, and we actually used an enterprise scaling framework to implement our project. There's also called LESS or large scale Scrum. I actually call it LSS, so but it will sound a different meaning. But large scale Scrum is more of for enterprise and multi-functional teams that you can use Scrum with. Another thing is discipline agile, like it's goal-driven framework and can be hybrid. So like another example of people using discipline agile guys is people working in a freelance company. So like there's a lot of people doing discipline agile, and of course agile portfolio. So this comes with companies with a lot of products, by the way. Like Facebook started just like one application, right? So they could actually use one agile methodology to develop their product. But right now, like with this meta concept and metaverse, they're developing a lot. Zuckerberg actually exposed us to different products that they're developing. So now they are establishing such agile portfolio. So those are the different agile working models that the industry is practicing and observing with. Now, what's the challenge? Like, the challenge is 80% said in a survey conducted by Harvard Business Review that they would have better relationship when they're going to do on-site work. I think some of you will agree. Like you have better relationship when you were at school, right? Than doing like a, what you call this, LDR, something like that. 43% said that more face time would help them develop deeper relationship with team members. 52% said they feel they were treated equally by their colleagues, like they don't feel the same equal treatment. 84% said that workplace challenges or concerns drag on for a few days, like there is slow response. and 41% believe that colleagues said bad things behind their backs. So like maraming marites during the remote setup because like everyone is pushed to do work at home. So imagine if you're developing a startup or a software or an application for your project and you're doing it remotely. Like there's no incubation hub that you can be with. There's no physical table that you guys can go and have brainstorm with. Like everything is remote. So like the comfort, the the confidence is actually being challenged, right? So for example, if I'm going to give you $3 million right now and I'm going to ask you to develop something for the senior citizens, and but we are still in a pandemic and I'm an investor from the US and we're going to work remotely, like how are you going to ensure confidence? How are you going to ensure comfort in building that project? Like, who among you here wanted to build their own startup or business? Can I see some hands? Like, you want to build your own application or you want to build your own software? Anyone? All right. So, like, some of you really wanted to build your own software. And you're going to do it in an agile way, okay? So, but yeah, the solution is, what's the solution to these challenges? Sustaining the people and culture of remote agile teams. So even in your current group projects right now you're doing in school, you need to develop a culture for your remote teams and recalibrate the processes. So it all boils down to process and execution. Sustaining the people and culture. Number one, you need to revisit the norms and ground rules for interaction. Like when we were pushed to do remote, like I realized on how can we be more effective in our meetings. Then surprisingly, this pandemic brought a lot of meetings. Like mas busy pa tayo during pandemic. Mas dami pa nating ginagawa na virtual meetings kaysa sa physical meetings before. I don't know, but that's how I experienced it. So like we set up some ground rules on how could we utilize virtual whiteboards, on how are we going to use instant chat. Like the good thing about what's happening right now in a remote setup is like there is a lot of free messaging apps that you guys can use already and like free video conferencing tools. You need to cultivate banding and morale because like, let me share this story. So I'm a salesperson. I'm selling products. I'm selling entrepreneurial learning courses. So like when I'm going to meet someone, like way before when I'm going to do physical selling, it's quite easy for me because you will be able to see right away the person, right? Is he liking me? Is he liking the product? You can see it right away in his reaction. When you're going to do it in Zoom, some of your clients will turn off their videos. So you really know if they're listening or are they like paying attention to you or like do they really want your product? Like, dude, seriously, hindi mo malalaman. Like, dili mo mahibawaan kung kaninga person ganaan ba siya sa imo, ganaan ba siya sa product. Kay ga-off ang camera, din napadjay uban nga magdrama nga ay, sorry, nawala akong internet. Like, when you're going in class, pagtawag ni teacher, ma-disconnect og kalit. So, there contain challenges. Like, even right now, I'm talking to you, like, I'm not seeing you. Perhaps some of you are doing things on Facebook instead of listening to me, right? So, you need to cultivate the bond, the morale. How are you going to do it? So, you need to set up checkpoints with your team or with your classmates. And you need to adapt coaching and development. This is quite applicable for professionals because like right now, because of the pandemic, you don't need to go to Dubai to build a network, by the way. Like you could just join a webinar online and meet people around the world. Gone are the days that you need to invest physical money in order for you to build network from different countries. Even you're currently a student right now, you could connect to a CEO already or to an investor already. Like there's a lot of development platforms out there setting up for networking events. So as young as you are right now, I challenge you to look for the coach, the right coach that will coach you in your career, in your studies, and in your professional journey, or even in your startup journey. Next is recalibrating the processes. One of the challenges in remote work is you wouldn't know where is the truth. Like for example, if someone is going to ask like, hey, what's the update of the project? Like, actually hindi ko alam. Tanongin mo sa ano, tanongin mo sa ano. Ang hirap magtanong kasi minsan pag i-message mo siya or isa-slack mo siya, offline. So you need to have a single source of truth. You need to have like a repository of everything that's happening in your project as a team. For example, gagawa kayo ng thesis together. Dapat meron kayong isang Google Drive where all the resources, where all the Google Docs, you put it there. Para hindi kayo maghahanapan sa Messenger, search sa Messenger. Uy, send ko ngayon na send? Ay, baka sa Viber, baka sa WhatsApp, baka sa Slack, baka sa Google Meet. So, ang daming-daming mong hinahanap. So, there should be like a single source of truth when you want to manage your Agile team remotely. You need to adjust the asynchronous collaboration. Like, you don't need to actually physically, like virtually meet. You could use channels. Like if you want to discuss specific topic for a specific set of people, then use the channel. Like in Slack and even in Discord, like there's channels that you could set. Keep teams engaged during long ceremonies. Like one of the challenge in doing virtual talks and even like virtual meetings is boredom, right? Like many people will be bored, like there's no physical touch, there's no physical interaction that you could witness. So like some people will like, blah, 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 blah. So how are you going to keep that? You need to engage your team. Later on, I'm going to be sharing to you some tools that we could do when you're going to do your team. Okay, so think of it like when you're going to do a project together, regardless it's for work or is it for school or it's for your startup. Okay. Now, remote agile ceremonies. So when you're going to do Scrum, okay, I've mentioned to you Scrum. Now I'm introducing it to you now. Like there are some set of ceremonies that you need to observe in order for you to deliver your project. The first common ceremony is the daily Scrum meetings. So like it's a daily thing that the team should do. If you're developing with your friends right now, a project or an application or a software, you need to perform daily Scrum meetings, okay, as a team, as a practice, as a ceremony. The goal is for you guys to always be aligned in what you're doing. Way before, when you're going to do it pre-COVID, it's quite easy because like 15 days, you're going 15 minutes, you're going to talk to your team, gather your team in a desk and talk. Like even other companies are doing like daily Scrum while squatting. Some are doing push-ups because it's just like 15 minutes to talk with your team. Right now it's hard because like getting them on time is difficult. Some of them are kept on dropping into the Zoom. Some of them are like having a hard time connecting. Like 15 minutes would be enough. So you need to extend it for your team so you can manage your team well. That is why it's time consuming doing remote collaboration, by the way. Like it's more time consuming, but it could be more meaningful if you're going to do it in the right way. Another ceremony that you could be doing when you're going to do Agile Scrum is sprint planning. This is where the time you're going to discuss in the next 2 weeks, what are the things that we're going to do together. So like, it could be like a long meeting when you're going to do it pre-COVID, and it will be more longer when you're going to do it post-COVID. So how are you going to do it? you need to prep in advance before you come into the meeting. So if you're building a application with your teammates, before you're going to ask them to go into the meeting, like tell them first to be prepared on the updates. Okay. Next is backlog refinement. Backlog means what are the features, the set of entities, the set of modules that you need to do in that software that you guys are developing. So that's the backlog. So like it's the work that you're going to do for your project. So how are you going to do it? You need to host smaller sessions with functionality aligned groups in a remote way. So for example, if I have Hannah CJ here work for the login page and like the rest of the people are working on to the password page, oh no, that's part of the login page, into the payroll page, and the other are working on into the OTP page, something like that. You need to meet them by group instead of like inviting them in one group setting to make sure that you'll be aligning the backlog with them. That's how you manage a project. Next, sprint review. So sprint review is, guys, every 2 weeks, or in a normal sprint, it composed of 2 to 4 weeks to develop something in an agile way. Mindset ng agile is bilisan ko, bilisan ko, bilisan ko. May change, adapt, adapt, adapt. Hindi ako maghihintay, hindi ako maghintay, hindi ako maghihintay. If kaya ko itong gawin now, within 2 weeks, gagawin, gagawin, gagawin. So after nung gawin yun, in a spot of a sprint, you're going to do sprint review. So you're going to review all the things that you did. So my suggestion here as a solution, because it's a challenge to demonstrate without face-to-face conversation, you need to keep presentation content crisp and concise. Like make it short. Looks like there's no way for a specific person to listen to that one person for 1 hour. In virtually, it's too hard. And sprint retro, one of the ceremonies that I love when I'm going to do agile, is more about reflection. Bakit ka kaya palaging absent nung ginagawa mo yung login page? Yung ginagawa natin yung thesis, bakit wala kang na-edit sa Google Docs? Eh palagi ka namang online sa Facebook. Diba? Yun yung mga sprint retro. Magre-reflect yung each member sa mga ginagawa nyo. So, how are you going to do it? If it's in a remote way, because in face-to-face, it's easy. It's like an open forum. So, in doing it remotely, let team members pick video or audio interaction mode. Like, where are they more comfortable opening things up to you? Because like, sprint review is about the output, the backlog, the task, the deliverables that you did. Sprint retro is about your working style. For me, when I'm going to manage sprint retro, it's more about the attitude of the person of that specific developer. So sa thesis, pag mag-sprint retro kayo, kung i-adapt niyo yung agile way, every 2 weeks, mag-meet kayo for updates, mag-sprint retro kayo, anong ambag mo ngayon? Ganun yung mga usapan nyo. Unsay gibuhat nimo nga dili naman ta ka magsigig pa Xerox kaya wala dili naman ta face to face, imo na lang mo tang i-edit ang Google Docs sa grammar. Mga struggle na igana. So that's how you do it. Like in everything that you do, thesis, software development, small projects you're doing, think of it as a project and manage it in an agile way. Now, so another thing is, how are you going to engage purposefully? When you're going to manage everything, like who among you here are doing leadership roles? If you're a leader, like it's too hard to engage people purposefully virtually. So I suggest that you conduct virtual sessions to keep getting feedback, offer specialized perks and services to those people, and proactive sprint demo. Sprint demo is like, ano bang ginawa mo ngayon? Demo mo nga sa akin. Sige na nga. Sige, ano ba yung mga ginawa mo? So ganun, like right now, while I'm managing my business, checking out with my teammates. Every time like I jump into the call, I'm going to ask them to demo the things that they did to me. Because like there's no way for me to vouch and have confidence with their output without seeing it. Next, providing transparency. Like you need to use emails and broadcast messaging often. So like we have a lot of messaging tools right now, Discord, Slack, and all. Then you use that like every day. Here are the things we accomplished. Here are the things we're going to do. So you broadcast everything. You utilize social media in a sense, like if there are small wins that you can do as a project team, you celebrate it. Live portals for updated health operations and engagement guidelines. So if you're working professionally, like there should be like a health portal, like where are we in the timeline? Where are we in our deliverables? So you know what? Being a project manager, if you're going to pursue project management, it's a very rewarding role, but I think it's the most hated role in the by the developers. Like they hate project managers because our job is to chase them, to choke them, to deliver, to code. So like that's why it's quite hard. So that's why you need to have health operations protocols on how you're going to manage. When I say health, it's like the status of your project. Next is effective collaboration. Like it's too hard to collaborate right now. Like there's no way for you to do physical team building, but I suggest like you do one-on-one calls with your partners or with your customers if you're doing a business. Do a lot of surveys, like make sure they are engaged. Like there's a lot of ways right now that you could do it remotely. So when you're going to deliver a team, the goal, guys, is either you're doing it remotely or you're doing it in a physical setup. It's the same set of output, or perhaps doing it remotely is much way better result. The challenge is always in project management. The challenge is always in how you view that specific goal, look at it as a project, and manage it remotely. That's the challenge. So the reason that I chose this topic, because many people disregard the fact that it's too hard to manage tasks, it's too hard to manage commitments, it's too hard to manage goals remotely. Like it's too difficult for me to know if that person that I'm working with is on track, on scope, and on budget. So that's I chose this topic for you guys to have like open ideas and be exposed that this could be done. Being effective remotely could be done if you're going to do it in the right way of working. So be an effective project worker. So I've set the premise of this talk that we're going to look things out as project. When you're going to have a goal in life, make it a project. Like if your goal is to be married in 25 at 25, then make it a project. Like what are the things that you need to take to be married at 25? That's a project, and do it in an agile way. Another thing is like if you want to build a startup, like make it a project. As long as you have a goal that you want to do, convert school on time, make it a project. So the goal is either you're doing it physically or remotely, you need to be effective. Be an effective project worker. All right. My gums are hurting right now, but I hope that you can still hear me clearly. I'm still pronouncing words clearly. Okay. So Agile will keep on rising as a way of work, whether you like it or not. As we keep on advancing to technology, as we keep embracing innovation as part of our daily breakfast, Agile will keep on rising as a way of work. I hope that every worker should be ready to embrace it with the right knowledge and tools. When you're going to join the industry, my hope is you will not be surprised to this type of setup, to this type of things and how things are done. Because like your mindset should not be not just how the school perhaps are setting it up. Like I the way big difference of agile and traditional mindset and project management is like this. Perhaps I missed to do that earlier, but I'm going to do it now. A traditional project management or traditional way of software development is like this. I cannot do that feature if I'm not yet done with feature A. I cannot move to feature C if I'm not done with feature B. So it's waterfall. It's like step by step. It's a ladder. Like I could not do that unless I will be able to finish this. Agile is like this. I can do that if I have the right scope already. I don't need to wait that. I'm just going to marry that work together. Once I'm done working with this, I'm done working with this, I'm done working with this. It's iterative, it's incremental. You keep on working. Another thing is change. When there is a change, like for example, if you're an iOS user, like there's like we have like seldom updates on our iOS, and if there's change, if you're managing it in a waterfall, you cannot do this change unless you're going to alter this. So there will be a long list. In Agile, I could do this change. I'm going to run it as a sprint and make sure I will be able to remarry it into the current backlog or perhaps into the current production line that we have right now. So that's how you do Agile. That's the difference. And Agile is the way to innovation and future infrastructure. We are living in the age of digital disruption, and you guys should be agile. You should stop thinking that things could be done step one, step two, step three. No, you could do step one and then step four and marry step five and step six, or do step eight and step nine first and go back to step one. That's how you look at it. Now, the ask is, are you agile enough? Like you as students, young as you are right now, preparing to join the workforce, are you agile enough? So be agile, have a growth mindset. So I actually intentionally included this in my talk, reflection part of this talk in each one of you. You need to have, being an agile is a mindset. It starts in the mind. You need to have a growth mindset. You need to believe that effort is the path to mastery. Like there's no way for a great coder, like lumabas lang siya sa tiyan ng mom niya, paglabas niya sa tiyan ng mom niya, magiging great coder na siya. No way! You need to believe that effort is the path to mastery. Like you want to be a great coder, study code every day. Right? Like, I'm actually sad to those people na palagi nagsasabi that they want to be successful startup uh, entrepreneurs someday. Eh, hindi naman sila nag-aaral na startup. Like, dude, hindi yan mangyayari overnight. Gusto mo maging sikat na programmer, mag-aral ka ng programming. How come na gusto mo maging sikat na programmer pero ang pinagkakaabalahan mo, Korean drama? Like, how come? Right? Like your effort should align to your goal. If you want to be the best programmer in the whole wide world, then eat programming language every day. That's how you do it. Growth mindset. Be agile. You need to believe effort is the path to mastery. Number two, gone are the days that every time you fail, you're going to be sad so much. No, you view failure as an opportunity to learn. Okay? Like every time you fail in your subjects, I hope not. Every time you fail in some of the projects that you're doing, view it as an opportunity to learn. It will never be a failure if you know why did you fail in the first place. Every time I fail in my decisions in life, I don't look up the consequences. I look for the reason why I fail, so I will not be able to do the same mistake all over again. Okay? View failures and push it to learn. That's how also you embrace change. Like the way we uh, yung nag-pandemic, you should view it as a crisis, yes, but an opportunity to adapt. Like, ano kayang pwede nating gawin during pandemic? And last, you need to believe intelligence and talent can be developed. It's not rocket science, my dear friends. It's something that you could develop. Agile mindset is about understanding that things that you want to do can be done as long as you commit to do it. It's not something that that's in the wilderness. Like, you know what? If I'm going to explore this wilderness, I'll be able to acquire this skill. No, it's something you can develop. You want to be an AI scientist, or you want to be like uh, a IoT tech guru, then study. Make it a habit, make it part of your core system. So you'll be able to develop it and be able to achieve your goal. Okay. Another thing is I encourage you to take risk. Uh, like while you're as we keep on like going to the race of these years, you need to take risk. But when you're going to take risk, actually, Agile is also about taking risk, especially when you're going to manage a project. Like there are some features that you want to launch right now in order to meet the deadline. So you need to take risk, but in order for you to take risk with confidence, you need to research, you need to plan, you need to remind yourself always, why are you taking risk in the first place? Risk is something that you could manage. In project management, it's one of the knowledge area, risk management. As long as you research, like how many people took risk about this? If there's a success rate 8 out of 10, then I have a good chance then. So you need to plan it. If I'm going to take this risk, if I'm going to fail, what's my backup plan? Before you take the risk, okay? You need to plan first. And you need to remind yourself always, why do I need to take risk? Is it driven by my urgency to be known to the world right away? Or is it driven about my curiosity on what I want to achieve in life? So you need to take risk. I sorry. And be a team player. Like when you're going to join the workforce, like uh, there's no area like there's no success for a person who wants to work alone. Eh paano yun? Introvert ako. Developer kasi ako. Kaya I wasn't going to work alone. No. I don't see any successful CTO out there that are not team player. Even you're an introvert, it doesn't mean you cannot be a team player. So be a team player. You need to make sure that you can work with people well. Because if you cannot, then you cannot uh, dare then to view success as it is. And again, it starts with the right mindset. So your mindset should be growth always. I'm growing, I'm learning, even though that I already finished college, I'm not yet enough. I can do this, but I'm going to have a mindset that I'm not yet enough. So that is why I'm going to keep on hustling. I'm going to keep pushing myself beyond the limitations that I could see. So draw your own journey to success. Like there's no way for me or other people to define success to you. You could draw it, but you start with the right mindset, be agile, and make sure you understand the different ways of working. And I hope to see one of you someday be able to conquer the world. Personal tip, if you want to start really pursuing your career or pursuing your business and make like be a successful, I encourage you guys to be a reader. Please read a lot of books, personal growth books, and even like other books that you would like to read. Because You cannot compensate your current experience right now. It's just like this. If I'm going to hire a new manager for my business right now, how can I hire you if you don't have the right experience, correct? Like, I cannot. But if you could demonstrate to me the right knowledge, then you could have a chance to be hired as one of the managers, regardless if your 20s.com or something like that. So what I'm telling is you could acquire this knowledge through reading. You want to compensate your years of experience because others are very old already in the industry and you want to compete with them. Be a reader. Learn from those people. The good thing right now in our generation is we could learn from those successful people right away. What they did right. Learn from them. Copy them. Be a reader. Okay? So that is my personal tip for you guys. So, daghang salamat.